It's over to Ms. Nina John.
Good evening, everyone. Or should I say, hello, hello, hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me at the back? All right. What happens when you say, hello, hello, can you hear me? That one word and those few soft sentences immediately convey a lack of confidence. Most people underestimate the telephone as a means of communication. We're on the phone all the time. In fact, when we have a mobile, we are also mobile. We have to talk and keep talking and walking when we talk, without realizing that when we do that, we are affecting the reception of the voice. We are affecting the way the voice waves go up and down. We are affecting what the listener can hear. Many of the earlier speakers, Vaijayanti, for example, spoke about how important listening is as a skill. Telephone etiquette demands that you don't just keep talking, you must also listen. Learn to listen when you are talking, especially in your professional lives. Across the world, whether the boss is Indian, Vietnamese, Chinese, or African, the number one complaint that bosses have: my employees, my team doesn't listen to me. And whether you are Chinese, African, Vietnamese, or Indian, the number one grouse that employees have about their bosses: my boss does not listen to me. Cultivate your listening skills right now. Learn to use the telephone as an instrument of communication that will help you in your professional life. First of all, when you call up someone, identify yourself first. Identify the other person and check if you are speaking to the right person. Is it the right time to talk? Or convey in a few words what the gist of your talk is going to be about, how much time you're going to take, and only then start your talking. Remember, the telephone is today the most universal gadget that every one of us has. But are we using it appropriately? Are you calling up at the right time to the right person? Remember, the other person may be driving, they may be eating, they may be doing so many different things. It may not be a convenient time to attend to your call, especially if it is something important. Tell them what it's about and then talk. When you are talking on the phone, remember, we are today operating in a multinational, multicultural world. Your words and your accent may not be the same, understood in the same way by the other person. Again, to quote Jayanti ma'am, 55, 45, school are all Indian ways we have of speaking certain words. When you are speaking to a French, German, or American person, be aware of the fact that dialects and accents do make a difference to the way you speak and to the way you are understood. Some pronunciations are acceptable both ways. In India, we have learned British English. Unfortunately, our work culture today is American English. So, you can have a schedule, you can have a schedule. Both are acceptable. But understand the fact that when you are talking to someone on the telephone, you are communicating. So be careful. What do you want to say? Why do you want to say it? And when do you want to convey that information? The telephone as a tool of communication allows much more interaction between the two of you than does an email. Learn to use the telephone as a way of building up relationships between your colleagues in the office, between your vendors, between other people in your organization. As far as language is concerned, remember today, as I said, we are in a multinational, multicultural organization where English is the one link language that we're using. Learn to use better English, better phrases for anything that you have. Please, thank you, excuse me, pardon me, sorry, all magic words that help the other person and make it clear whether you have understood what they wanted or whether they need clarification. Assertiveness in communication. I'm sorry, I did not understand what you said just now. Please, could you repeat that? Paraphrase the conversation and say, excuse me, this is what I understood as what you said. Are these the actions you want me to take? Clarity on both sides. Clarity of your voice, clarity of your ideas, clarity of your thoughts. These are what will be conveyed to the other person. So be clear in your telephone conversations itself what are the words you use and how you use them. Words can have a great impact. How do you put words and in which context do you use them can change every single aspect of communication. There is a story about two young American men who were training to be priests in a Catholic seminary. Now, these are young American men. Both of them were very, very fond of smoking. And the person in charge, the abbot, said, smoking is a very bad habit, so you must stop it. Both of them refused to give up the addiction. So he said, okay, write to the Pope because he's the supreme authority. If he gives you permission, yes, you can continue smoking. Or if he says no, both of you have to stop. Both of them emailed the Pope. Strangely enough, to one priest or seminarian, the Pope said, yes, you can continue smoking. To the other one, he said, no, you may not. So the abbot said, please show me the emails that you sent or the letters that you sent. And he read them. One priest had asked, Holy Father, I have this great problem with smoking. Is it okay if I pray while I smoke? And the other one had said, Holy Father, I have a great problem with smoking. Is it okay if I smoke while I pray? Is there a difference? The difference is not in the intention of the sender. The difference is in the message that was received by the Pope. Can I smoke while I pray? I am giving importance to smoking. Can I pray while I smoke? My whole being is permeated with praying and love of God. So if I smoke while I'm doing that, it doesn't matter because my primary attention is on the prayer. But if smoking covers my entire life, that's what the message is conveyed. So be careful of how you convey messages, even in the way you speak, and even in the words that you use. My next session will be on email writing, where I will give you a few more examples like this. Remember, sorry, in the multinational world that we're talking about today, you know, there's a campus interview with TCS. Yesterday there was some news about how the CTS is recruiting 8,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people. When you are just one amongst those thousands of people, remember, there are only two ways in which you can make your presence felt. I'll take it. There is only two ways in which you can make your presence felt. One is by your voice at the end of a telephone wire, and the other is by your signature at the end of an email. The kind of language that you use when you are speaking to your subordinates, to your peers, to your colleagues. When you speak on the telephone, are you clear in your voice? Does it take repeated telephone calls back and forth to actually understand what the issue is about? Check yourselves. There's a very simple mechanism that you can have. Record your own voice on your own telephone, play that back, and see how clear those words are to anybody else. If you want to improve the quality of your voice, if you want to improve the quality of your words, one simple exercise that you can do is to read aloud 5 minutes every day. Anything. Newspapers, magazines, technical literature, anything you want. Read it aloud for 5 minutes. Listen to yourself, and you will find yourself improving as far as your voice is concerned. Make sure that you improve your vocabulary. The better words you use, the more impressive you sound on the phone. Learn to use the right words at the right time. When you're talking to your friends, hey dude is fine. When you're talking to a client for the first time, yes sir, yes Mr. Stevens, yes ma'am. When you're talking to anybody else, stick to the formalities until that person says, my name is Mr. Adams, call me Steve. In an international world, make sure you know what you're talking about and who you're talking to clearly and logically. Improve your vocabulary in every way, because the words you use on the phone and the words that you use on your email make an impression on everybody that it comes across. Be crisp and clear even in your telephone conversations. Avoid rambling on the phone. Avoid using abusive terms. Avoid using slang. Avoid using abbreviations unless you know the person on the other side can understand those terms. Then you have a common language, go ahead and do it. In college, I'm sure every one of you has your own slang. You're able to communicate in that particular language. You can say dude or macha or whatever it is. Your friends are not going to take offense. But don't use that language when you are on an official call or when you're talking to someone else. In terms of telephone etiquette, some of these things are quite simple. In college, they're ingrained into you. Either colleges don't allow you to have phones at all, or if you do, you're supposed to put it on silent mode and make sure it's done. But otherwise, for meetings, for other places, keep your phone on silent mode. Make sure that you know who you're talking to. Talk to the point and with as much detail as is relevant for that particular topic, and ensure that your voice is clear, your accent is understandable to the other person, you know why you have made that call, and with every phone call that you make, you will find that you are having an impact on the other person. Better vocabulary, better voice, better diction. Do not come up with the baggage saying, I studied in Tamil Nadu, or I studied in Maharashtra, or I studied in Bihar, and it's other medium school, therefore I cannot speak English. We are in the city of Chennai, where we have Finnish companies, French companies, Korean companies, German companies. All of these have CEOs who studied in their own mother tongue and then came here. English is the link language of the world. You have to learn English, and you have to learn English to improve your professional skills. Learn to use SMS, which of course every one of you probably do in your sleep. Learn to use instant messaging at the right time. Learn what video conferencing is all about. Learn how teleconferencing can be done. Learn how to speak at the right time. Learn how to listen. Learn how to assert yourself in communications. And overall, you will find that the impact that you create, even with something as simple as a telephone, can brand you as a professional in whichever organization you have. And so, I have, I think, a couple more minutes. Any questions would anyone like to have? One more thing, please, once in a while, take a break from your cell phones. Keep your cell phones aside when there is something happening. Pay attention, as far as etiquette is concerned, pay attention to the person in front of you rather than the person outside. All of us have had the situation, we're traveling in a car, 4 people will be traveling in a car, all 4 will be on their cell phones talking to somebody else. Have you all had that situation? Yes. Everyone has had that situation. So remember, the rule of etiquette is pay attention to the people with you rather than the people who are not there. So that's the first rule of etiquette. And the others are, of course, mind your manners, make sure that the other person understands what you're talking about, make sure you improve your vocabulary with every single session that you have, and altogether ensure that the telephone works for you in helping to brand you as a better professional rather than just an instrument in which you can talk unnecessarily for too many hours at a time. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. May I now request Group Captain Vijay Kumar to please step forward to present the memento. That was a session on Know How Impress with Words, Telephone Etiquette. Thank you, Madam, for that insight on that session.